Well, earlier today, the former US Vice President under George Bush, W. Bush, Dick Cheney, criticised the Senate Intelligence Committee for publishing its report, and he robustly defended the actions of the CIA. A little earlier, I spoke to Zbigniew Brzezinski, who served as National Security Advisor to President Carter. I asked if torture were ever justifiable.
I think justification, in my judgment, would depend on whether two realities were present. One, a threat of enormous proportions, and two, implementation of that threat in a relatively short period of time. For example, if someone was caught in the course of a deployment of a horrible terrorist weapon in the center of a city, let's say London or Washington, of a nuclear kind, capable of being exploded within the next 3 hours, I would think a great deal of what has been exposed would actually be justified, because the casualties would be in the scale of hundreds of thousands. But I did not see anything equivalent to that in the preliminary accounts that I have read yesterday. So in that sense, it seems to me there is a disproportion between the violence employed, the cruelty, the human insensitivity, and what was being sought as information or was attempted to be prevented. Neither scale nor immediacy, in my judgment, were present.
Can you say, with hand on heart, that this never went on during the presidency of Jimmy Carter? Do you know that with certainty?
I certainly don't know of any.
But do you feel that the CIA is something that American presidents are in charge of, or will it always be a rogue element?
Obviously, secrecy is inherent to its existence, and also, let's be fair, to its success, if any. And there can be excesses in that context. What is appalling, apparently, is the engagement of top-level people in approval a priori of such activities and the execution of them on such a relatively significant scale. We're dealing with not huge numbers, but sufficiently large to raise very serious questions.
But do you concede it could have been going on right the way through the last 3 decades, right the way through even the administration that you were part of?
I didn't concede that. I simply said that as a national security advisor who should know about such things, I had no such knowledge. That means either it didn't happen or it was deliberately and successfully concealed. So don't jump to hasty conclusions.
My question, I guess, is do you think anyone will be brought to justice for this? Is it in Obama's interest, is it in America's interest to make people pay for their deeds?
If crimes were committed, and there's evidence to show that, then obviously it's the responsibility of the authorities to put such people on trial, whether it's to anybody's political benefit or not. We are still a system of laws.
Do you think it's realistic that the British government didn't know about rendition? Does it seem to you that this could just be contained as America's problem?
Maybe there is a possibility that there are things the British government doesn't know about itself.
I want to move on to more global issues now. When you look back, your administration chose to fund the Mujahideen against Russia in the 70s. Many people might think of that as the beginning of all this. And when you look at Iran now, and you were at the centre of power in one of the lowest points of Iran-US relations, does it seem conceivable that they could be military allies now?
Yes, it is. I think that some cooperation with Iran is not only desirable, but is de facto already a reality, as in small proportions, but a positive sign. And Iran is, in spite of the last several decades, a genuine country with a sense of ethnic and historical identity, which some of the adjoining so-called countries do not have.
Zbigniew Brzezinski, thank you very much.
Thank you indeed.